What's up, Internet? My name is Michael Cook, and this is Blue Giant Media. We're here to help you find, learn, and play the games that you love. Today, we're going to open up Small World by Philippe Keyaerts and published by Days of Wonder. We're going to set it up, and we're going to play through a couple rounds so you can get a feel for how to play. So let's jump right in. Okay, open up the box. I'm going to take out the rule book. You'll see right up at the front, we've got setup instructions. It's all set one by one. So we're going to step through this, and I'm going to do this in real time for those of you who have not watched any of my videos before, because I want you to be able to do this with me. So maybe you just check the game out from a library, maybe you just got it and you're setting it up for the first time, or maybe you just want to get a feel for how much time it actually takes to set up the game, because that's not always described in the amount or the play time that's advertised on the box. So I'm going to set this up for 2 players, and you can see up here in the corner there's a 2 on this side, and over here there is a 3, so you know which board to use based off of the number of players. And they basically just make a smaller or bigger map so that it forces you to actually be involved with each other, because this is a very interactive game. Alright, so that is step 1. Then we are going to go ahead and take out all of these and put them right next to the board here. I'm going to take the top off. And then the next thing it says to do is to grab these, all the different race tokens, cards, cardboard pieces, and you're going to shuffle them. So because these are not cards, you can't shuffle them directly, so just an overhand, or maybe you can do one of these, kind of whatever you're comfortable with. I tend to like to do an overhand on all my cards, and it just carries over, so it's a habit to do with everything else. Then you're going to set these and the traits, which you will also be loosely shuffling around. You're going to stack all of them to one side. And then you are going to take 5 sets of them. You're going to move them out and put them together. And this kind of chooses or sets up what you have to choose from for races in the game. Okay? So the next thing we are going to do, now that we got the supply and all of these set up, mixed together, is we're going to start to put some of the lost race out on the board. So we will take these, and you are going to place these on each one of the spots on the map that have this crosshair type symbol here. Okay. And there. You can put the rest back. The next thing you're going to do is populate the mountains. There we go. This is all one region over here, it looks like. Okay. Here we go. And then the next thing you're going to do is give each player 5 coins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for this player. Get up the die, and you're going to put this, either you can take all the coins out and set them aside, or you can just put the box close at hand so that you can reach over and grab coins whenever you need to. Then you're going to determine the start player, which the rule book says that you should determine the start player by whoever has the pointiest ears. you can use whatever method you want. Alright, so then for the first turn of the game, what you're going to do is the active player is going to choose which one of these races and trait combinations they want to take. So right now we will take our own, and this is all set here on your first turn. It says you're going to pick a race and special power combo. So if you don't know what any of them do, then you can consult this very well organized reference for races and special powers. So, for instance, it says that these are flying dwarves. So, I can look up the special power for flying, and I'm looking at this upside down, so my apologies. There we go. Flying says you may conquer any region of the map, not just an adjacent one. So normally, as you move onto the map, you're going to, say you enter the map here because you enter off of the ocean, you would be able to just go to spots that are next to you. But if you are flying, you can go here, and then immediately conquer somewhere here, and then immediately conquer somewhere here. So you have a lot of flexibility there. And then the dwarves. The dwarves get to collect 1 bonus coin for each mine that they occupy at the end of their turn, even when in decline. And I'll explain what both of those things mean, but for the sake of ease, we are going to take that race and special power combo. So I'll turn this around. And then the rest will slide down. And a new one comes out. Okay, so now we are going to be collecting 3 and 5, a total of 8 dwarves. So we will go over here, and the insert here is organized, or they recommend you organize it on page 8 of the rule book in this manner. So that can also then be referenced if you want to grab the tokens quicker. Then you will begin, as outlined on your reference here, to conquer some regions. So to do that, you will start on one of the spaces, or regions, that is bordering the ocean. So you can come in one of these 3 spaces, or one of these 2 spaces. Okay? So, because I am a dwarf, I would much prefer to get to spots that have these mines on them so that I can score some extra points. So, what I might do, let's see here. Let's start off easy. So, whenever you want to enter a region, it takes 2 of your race tokens, plus 1 for any enemy, for every token, and plus 1 for any mountains, or there are also strongholds, bivouacs, things like that, fortresses that kind of give more defense. So plus 1 for every one of those types of things. Unlike Risk, you are not going to just roll the dice to see whether you succeed or not. You know ahead of time, okay, I have 2 of these, there's nobody there, so that one's mine, which I really like. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here because I score extra points for these areas. And then I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I'm flying, and I'm going to come over here to claim this one because it's going to be a little bit harder for my opponent to get to that and unseat me. But it's going to take 3. Normally I wouldn't be able to go over there because it's all the way, I have to go to an adjacent area. But because I'm flying, I can jump right over there. And I just take 3, put them in there, and take that token and remove it from the game. I'll let you know in future rounds what you're going to do if you actually attack an opponent. Then I only have 1 left at this point. So now it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to conquer anything because normally it takes 2. So this is where the die comes in play. And one of the nice things about this game, one of the things that makes me, and I'll talk more about this in my review, makes me think it is better than Risk, is that I don't need to roll the die for every battle. So I have a lot more control over what happens, but you still do have that element of luck, a little bit of pushing it, a little bit of seeing what you're gonna what can happen and what you can do. So if I wanted to go here, normally I would need 1, 2, plus 1 more because there's a mountain there. I would need 3. So if I roll this die, and I roll a 2 plus my 1, that means I succeed in taking that region. So that basically gives me a 1 in 3 chance of taking this spot. If I go to any of these unclaimed regions, though, I only have to roll the 1 because normally it would take 2 to conquer that region. So I can kind of play my odds here. If I get one of these, it's going to give me more points, but I have better odds of claiming one of these. Maybe I just want to claim something for, as a sure thing. So I think I'm going to opt for the sure thing. I'm going to go all the way here in the corner so that it's harder for my opponent to unseat me. So going for the corner, I have to roll at least 1. I rolled 3, so I could have been safe taking one of those, but as it is, I comfortably get to conquer that region. Now that I have conquered some regions, so I do all my conquests, my final conquest, which is the only time I'm going to choose a die. You can't choose to do any of these attacks in the middle of your turn. You can't say for your first attack of the game, I'm going to try and do this, but I'm only going to send 1 and roll the die to see if it worked or not. The only time you roll the die is on the last conquest of your turn. So the final conquest, and you have to have at least 1 token in order to do that. The next thing you're going to do is troop redeployments. So maybe I say, well, these guys are pretty safe over here, so I'm going to take these 2 guys and I'm going to move them over here because I want to make it extra difficult for my opponent to unseat me if they decide to come in over here. They'd have to really push through to unseat me from these regions here. Then I'm going to actually score victory points. So when you score victory points at the end of the round, what you're going to do first off is count up every region that you have conquered. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 regions conquered. All right. So then I'm going to take 4 coins. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now I also get special abilities from my race. So I've conquered 2 of these mine regions, which each one of them will give me 1 additional coin, which these coins count for points as well. Okay? Now is when I will say, these coins are kept secret. So if I wanted, I could take these 5, turn them in for a 5, and now my opponent doesn't know whether I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 coins, or do I have are these 10s? They don't know. It's going to be a lot harder. You could math it out, but I think the whole spirit of keeping it secret is, I tend not to be one of the people who tries to remember, count cards, any of those kinds of things. Just take it as it is. That's me. You can do whatever you want with your game. Okay, so that is that player's turn. Now in this player's turn, I won't go through all of these races. They're explained fairly well in the back in the rules reference and in the rule book. So just for the sake of what are your options here? Another thing you can do is say you don't want to have mounted giants. Maybe you really like the sound of having some, I don't know. So let's look at some stout Amazons. So because they're up here, I have to place 1 coin on each of the races that I passed over. And that means that the next player, if they choose to grab one of those races, is going to get one of your victory points. So let's say they grabbed these stout Amazons, and then the rest move down. Okay. And the Amazons, which are right here. And I am going to take 6 plus 4 of them. And you'll also see that the Amazons have a special ability there that says only when attacking on their turn. So basically when it is your turn, you'll be adding an extra 4 Amazons to your supply. So because it is my turn and I will be doing my conquest, I will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus 1, 2, 3, 4. So I will take 14 Amazons. Okay, and I can keep my coins secret now for this player. And then my other special ability is that I am stout. And that says that I can go in decline at the end of a regular turn of conquests after scoring. And I will explain what that means probably on the next go round. Actually, for the sake of showing you how the game works quickly, I will go ahead and take advantage of that this turn. So what I'm going to do now is go into my conquests. Got a whole bunch of these, and this player knows that the dwarves are getting extra points for conquering the areas with mines. So maybe I decide I want to get over here and unseat him from at least that one. So I'm going to go ahead and start by putting 2 here. It's going to take 3 to go there. Then I'm going to take 3 to go here and bump this one out. Now, whenever you defeat an opponent, if they have more than 1 token, you discard 1 token and give the rest to that player so that they can use them on their next turn. So if they had 5 of them here, first of all, it would take me 7 of my tokens to conquer that region. But only 1 of the tokens would actually be lost, and the other 4 would be able to be reused on the next turn. So it's both easier and more beneficial sometimes to conquer areas that have just 1, because then you actually get rid of that token. Whereas if I were to try to conquer one of these areas that they're trying to really have a stronghold there, it's going to be more difficult, and they're going to be able to get those tokens right back to utilize on their next turn. So keep that in mind. The next thing I'm going to do, so we have to discard this one. And let's see, I've got 2, 2, 2. I'm not seeing anywhere that I can, well, let's just do the 2 there. Let's do the 2 there. And then let's try and conquer another region. Maybe we decide we want to get into the corner here. So it'll take 1, 2, 3 to conquer that. So I got to roll a 1. And I failed. So if you fail, no bad consequence happens. You just didn't get to do the thing. So now I have to remember that I only had 4 extra during my attack. So I'm going to remove a total of 4 from the board. So I can take these ones off, set them aside. Then I can put do my redeployment, or let me double check. It says for stout that, because I'm going to go ahead and utilize decline. It says that I can go in decline at the end of a regular turn of conquest after scoring. And scoring happens at the very end of the turn. So now what I'm going to do is go into decline. When you go into decline, you're going to take your trait, that goes away. And normally you cannot go into decline after doing conquest. Usually you basically pass a turn to send your race into decline. But because I'm stout, I had the ability to actually do all of my conquests and then go into decline. So that was a nice ability, but do not confuse that going forward. If you do choose to go into decline, it is basically you're going to pass your conquest options. You will not do any conquests. You will just score the points for the areas that you still control. Then when you go into decline, you will turn your tokens over. So I will score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coins. So take a 5, put that face down. All of these, they are no longer used. I take the trait or special ability, put it at the bottom, and I take my race and I flip it over. They are in decline. Okay? And that is that player's turn. So now it's back to the flying dwarves. They can decide to pass this turn, flip their tokens over, and go straight into decline, score 3 points so that they can go on to their next turn, choosing their next race. Or we can go ahead and try to conquer. So maybe we decide we want to conquer a little bit more. We got 4 of these tokens. We can send 3 over here. Or, maybe even better, we can send 3 over here to remove their ability to score points for free with their race that was in decline. And then we can go ahead and try to conquer this area again. So this will take 1, 2, because 2 is the base amount, plus 1 more for the mountain. So it's going to take 3, so I have to roll a 2. So no good. So now I will take these and redeploy them to protect myself. So maybe I go over here, because once again I want to try and protect my ability to score points off that mine. So now I'll score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 points. Okay, now back to this player. They are in the same boat. Oh, and at the end of the first round, we were supposed to move this down, because that was the. Now we are into the second round because the game plays just in 10 rounds. Okay, so now this person is going to get to choose a race and special ability match again. So now maybe they want to. Now maybe that there's a couple more coins here. Maybe they decide that those mounted giants aren't too bad, or maybe it's not worth passing over them again because maybe they just don't have enough coins. But this would give 11 plus. From what I can tell, it looks like you're going to have some ability to conquer areas with fewer tokens. So maybe that's going to be beneficial. Plus the extra point, maybe that's worth it. All right, so we're going to take these mounted giants. Okay. All right, let's find the giants. Those ones. Giants. There we go. And I will need 11 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, so now let's see what they do. Normally, I would see what they all do and choose accordingly based off of what I think is the most useful, as well as what I think is going to be worth the money at /points. Okay, so I have mounted, which says here that I can conquer any hill or farmland region at 1 less token than usual to a minimum of 1. So that means if I wanted to conquer, these are farmlands and the hills are, I'll have to double check. Here it is so here we can see what everything is. So the hills are what look basically to me like grassland, and the farmlands are the ones that look like maybe they're growing wheat. So if I wanted to conquer any of those regions, this, instead of costing me 3, 2 base plus 1, is going to be reduced. So it's only going to cost me 2. So that's what mounted does for me. And let's see what giants does for me. Giants can conquer any region adjacent to a mountain region that you occupy for 1 less. So that means if I can go into this area, I can conquer each one of these areas at 1 less. Or if I go into this area, I can conquer each one of these at 1 less. These ones actually at 2 less. So that sounds actually pretty darn good. So I'm going to go ahead and start there. But it does not help me actually conquer those mountain regions, right? Yep. All right, so I will start by taking 3 of my giants and claiming this region. Then this would normally take 3, but because I'm going into it from a mountain region, and because I am going into it and it is a farmland, it will only take me 1. So quite nice. Likewise, this one will take 1. Then, let's see here. Where else do I want to go? I can conquer, well, this one will also cost 2 less to get into. So instead of costing 5, it will only cost me 3. And it unseats my opponent. So I will go ahead and bump them out with 3. So this is one of those situations where only one of them is discarded. The other 2 go back to my opponent so that they can utilize them on their next turn. Okay. Now maybe I decide this person has overextended themselves. They're probably going to go in decline next time, so maybe I just really want to bump them out. But it's going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, and I only have 3 left. So maybe I decide that's not worth it. Maybe I go for 2 over here, and then go for that sure thing, and then try and roll a die to see if I can get in here. So this will cost 3, and I have 1, so I got to roll a 2. All right, so didn't get in there. Now I get to redeploy. So now I'm thinking he's probably going to go into decline. He doesn't have very much there, and I'm not too worried about where I'm going to put everything anymore. But I will just actually. The nice thing about these mountains is while they are harder to claim, they also give you extra defense. So, all right, and then That is... All right. Now that is... I will score points again. So nice thing is I was in decline. So I get to score points for these. 1, 2, 3, 4, plus my new race. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I scored 9 points there. I will take a 10, discard a 1, and that is the end of the second round. So now on this player's turn, they could take their 2 guys and they can fly around, but as it is, I think it is time to go into decline. So what we will do is we're going to remove the flying. We're going to flip over the dwarves. All right, let me double check the timing of these things. Oh, there's one thing that I missed. When you are in decline, you only have 1 of each of those. You don't get to keep a whole bunch of defense there. They basically act like these lost races. So that was a mistake I made. Sorry about that. But let's say I go into decline. So I flip these over, leave just 1, flip it over, flip it over. Okay. All right. Then, if you already have, so if I already had a race in decline, I would remove all of the other tokens. So when this player goes into decline, if they have any Amazons left, they will all get wiped off the board. Okay. All right. Discard all the others. And then you will score victory points as normal. And unless you'll see on the back sides of most of these, it does not have any their special abilities. Like this, the humans, they normally have 1 extra point whenever they occupy farmland, but when they are in decline, they lose that. My dwarves, however, get 1 extra point when they are on mines, and they maintain that when they are in decline, which is nice because I don't have very much land claimed. So I'm still able to claim 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points on the turn in which I go into decline. Then we're going back over here to this player. They still have a pretty good amount of real estate covered. So while this person was still able to capture 5 points on their turn going into decline, which is not bad, this player has a lot of opportunity. So they get to collect all these guys, and we still have the ability to clear our way through hills and farmland pretty effectively. So it'll only take 3 to get into here and bump these dwarves out, which we want to do because we don't want to leave them scoring 2 points for that 1 region they have claimed. And then it's going to take 3 to get into this region, but that's worth it. Then at this point, we are probably going to have the opponent come through either this side or this side. So maybe we decide I want to maintain as much of these hill trolls or mounted giants that we can, and we're going to try and make them want to go that direction on their next turn. So then we score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points. And that is the end of round 3. So I think at this point you can see how a game plays, and you would just play through to 10 rounds, continuing to move through decline and new races, new traits, and combinations. And you're probably going to go into decline 2 or 3 times. And that is definitely the trickiest part of the game, is deciding when to go into decline. Other than that, it's trying to decide how far to extend yourself. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of how to play. As I was packing this up, I realized I forgot to tell you that the player with the most points at the end of the 10 rounds wins. So at the end of 10 rounds, turn over these tokens, see who has the most points, which at this point, this player, since we just randomly chose, or just took the very first race without looking at it, didn't do especially well, but there's plenty of time to catch up since we're only 4 rounds in. And this player had a couple pretty solid rounds after the first round being relatively quiet. So anyway, most points wins. Now you know how to set up and play through the first couple rounds of Small World. If you have any other questions about how the rules work, let me know in the comments section below so I can try and clear that up for you. And if you want to find a video link to the unboxing or my full review of this game, make sure to look in the description section below for links. And you'll also find a link there to macronovagames.com where you can purchase Small World and many other fine games. If you're looking for video reviews, unboxings, playthroughs, setup for a game that we haven't published yet, let me know in the comments section below and we'll go ahead and get videos of that put together as quick as we can for you. And if you're looking for a game that Macronova Games does not have in stock, let them know so they can add it to the store as quick as they can. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Please click like, subscribe, and share if you like what you see, and have a wonderful day.